trying to look normal.
He's one of the biggest stars in the world, one of the most acclaimed actors of our time. Tonight, Johnny Depp, the man who rarely grants interviews, sits down with me and opens up about his fame.
It's the card I drew, so I'll deal with it, that's fine. It doesn't mean at every single moment you have to be sort of okay with it.
His family.
I don't want my kids to experience me as a novelty. I want my kids to know me as Dad.
And his famous friends.
Brando had that big an effect on him.
He was a wonderful man, you know. He'd give you anything.
Plus, we'll go on a tour of his private office, full of personal memorabilia and his paintings. It's all ahead on this Larry King special, Johnny Depp. We're sitting here in Johnny Depp's office, an office like none I have ever seen. In fact, later we'll get a chance to explore it a little. He's, of course, one of the most celebrated and versatile actors of his generation. He's also a director, producer, accomplished musician. His new movie, Rum Diary, will open October 28th, the only novel ever written by Hunter S. Thompson. We'll talk about that a little later. You don't do many things like this. So why, do you not like to be interviewed, or?
No, I'm just not very good at it, you know. Never have been very good at it.
Why not?
I don't know. There's a strange thing, you know. I'm okay when I'm a character. If I'm playing a character, I can do, you know, virtually anything in front of a camera. But if I'm just me, I feel, you know, exposed. And sort of, you know, it feels awkward.
We won't expose you.
Okay.
Do you like being other people?
Yeah, I do. I do, because I'm fascinated with people. I mean, I'm fascinated. I like to watch people, and that's the one sort of thing, you know, as an actor, in terms of job necessity, is the ability to be able to watch people, to observe, to be the observer, as a journalist, you know, to observe. And it's one of my favorite things, to sort of pick apart, you know, various traits.
Marlon Brando told me that one of the problems is when you get very well known, is they're observing you.
That becomes
so you can't. You're not observing them really.
Yeah, exactly. No, that becomes the problem. You become the focus of others. So therefore, your ability to observe is tainted. You know, it's a little bit. Yeah, it changes quite radically.
How'd you go from guitar to acting?
Accident.
How did it happen?
I'd moved to Los Angeles in 1983 and was living here playing music. And we did a couple of good gigs, you know, the band and stuff, and we went on the road for a little bit, and that was all fine. But I mean, in terms of making a living, it was pretty straight, you know, pretty close to the bone there. So I was filling out job applications for just various, like, video stores or anywhere, you know, and I happened to be with an old buddy of mine, Nicolas Cage, who was, you know, then coming up the ranks, and he said, you know, why don't you just, I think you should meet my agent. You should investigate acting.
You hadn't thought of it today?
No, not really, no. And so I met his agent. She sent me to read for a part, and got a call back, and then they hired me for the gig, you know. That was the first Nightmare on Elm Street. That was 1984, 3 or 4.
Did you like it right away?
No.
It was a job?
It was just a gig, you know. I just thought, well, this will get me through, you know, until, you know, the music picks up or whatever, you know. And so I you know, the first 2 or 3, 4 films, to me, were just, you know, a lark. You know, just to be able to make some dough.
Would you rather have been a musician?
In retrospect, no, you know. In retrospect, no, because I suppose, had that become my bread and butter, as they say, or you know, the main gig, I would have probably fallen out of love with it on some level, and I still, to this day, you know, have the same love, you know, first love feeling for music as I did when I was 12. You know.
Do you play?
All the time, yeah, constantly, still, yeah.
How did you react to getting famous?
I'm still reacting, you know. I'm still sort of dealing with it. I don't think it's anything you ever get used to, you know. I could never, for many years, I could never sort of put my name in the same sort of category as the word famous or anything like that. And I just found it very uncomfortable. So it's weird. It's something like I find if you get used to it, then something must be wrong, you know. If you get used to that constant kind of thing, it's something's got to be wrong. There's got to be still a part of you that, somewhere in there, that pines for anonymity.
Alan Alda told me once that he doesn't like giving autographs because he feels it demeans the person asking for the autograph. It feels like put him on a lower level. I know Brando didn't like much being photographed. Is it true? You don't like being photographed?
I suppose, like, for example, when you're doing something organized, like a photo shoot, essentially, you know, and I made a faux pas of, you know, there was a piece in Vanity Fair where I should have used the word violated. However, you know, in my lack of vocabulary in the moment, I used another word, which I have, you know, apologized for radically. But the thing with doing a photo shoot, that's sort of an organized thing. You feel dumb, okay, but you just get through it. But what I find still to this day kind of like an attack on the senses is really just being bombarded by paparazzis, you know. I'll take photographs with kids, people, you know, who want to take photographs with me, people who like the movies, people who have supported me. I'll do that all day, all night, that's fine. But the bombardment, you know, of the paparazzi is just, it's like it's just such a...
What do they get out of it? I mean, they take your picture, and then they take it a minute later. It's not any different than a minute before.
And it's not any different than the year before.
So what do you think it is?
I truly don't understand. I think it must be just this kind of, I don't know, it just feels this kind of gluttonous, horrific sport. It's like sport. It's like hunting or something. And
do you therefore go out of your way to try to avoid them?
Yeah, I try to avoid, you know, any and all, you know, press, especially of that nature, you know, just to, yeah,
So do you go...
I don't want my kids to experience me as a novelty. I want my kids to know me as Dad, you know, and already, you know, if they have access to the internet or whatever, I mean, they understand what the deal is. But I don't want them to have to live through and experience that kind of attack, you know. So
what do you do when you go out to eat?
I don't go out very much, you know. I stay at home a lot. Or when you go out to eat, you know, it becomes a strategic sort of plan, you know.
Get into the side.
Okay, we're going in the back. We're going to walk through the slippery kitchen, and we're going to go into the private room, or, you know, that kind of thing.
It's a tough way to live.
It's, you know, I suppose it's the card I drew, so I'll deal with it, that's fine. But, you know, it doesn't mean at every single moment you have to be sort of okay with it. I certainly am not one of those guys and would, you know, can't stand the idea of, you know, one of those guys who whines about, you know, how horrible success is and all. So I do realize and understand very well on a profound level how lucky I am and what a privileged position it is and what it's done ultimately for me, my family, and my kids. But at the same time, you know, there are moments in a man's life when you just kind of want to feel somewhat normal, you know.
He's one of the biggest stars in the world, but it wasn't always that way.
I had been essentially known within the confines of Hollywood as as box office poison, you know. You know, basically had built a career on 20 years of failures.
Plus later, Johnny shows me the inside of his private office. It's an up-close and personal look at a Johnny Depp you will not want to miss when this Larry King special, Johnny Depp, returns. Paul Newman told me that any successful person in any field who, in discussing their career, doesn't use the word luck is a liar.
Oh, yeah, he's absolutely right, yeah.
So you consider yourself lucky?
Very lucky, yeah.
But you have to have talent to meet the luck, right?
Somebody hands you the ball, and you run, you know. I mean, and if you get hit, you get hit, or maybe you make it through. You never know. But I mean, I just know that somebody handed me the ball at a certain point, and I was hungry enough to keep running, and I'm still running. So,
what do you think makes you good at what you do? You have to think you're good.
I'm okay.
You don't watch yourself, right?
I don't know. I don't like to watch myself, but I think, you know, I maintain a hunger, but not an ambition. You know, I'm very happy to explore all possibilities of a character and really, you know, dive in to the role. I mean, to the point of where, you know, Disney wanted to fire me.
They wanted to fire you from Pirates?
Yeah.
Because?
They couldn't understand what I was doing, you know. They didn't understand the character. They actually were contemplating subtitling the film, you know.
You will always remember this as the day that you almost caught Captain Jack Sparrow. What are you doing? You burned all the food, the shade, the rum.
Yes, the rum is gone.
Why is the rum gone?
Ever turned down something you regretted?
No.
No.
Don't regret any of it, no. No. Everything that I turned down was weirdly, it was more important what I turned down than what I accepted in terms of films.
For your own happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it became a hit?
Yeah. Pirates was a complete accident, you know. I mean, prior to Pirates of the Caribbean, you know, the first one in 2003, that was, I mean, I had been essentially known within the confines of Hollywood as the, you know, as box office poison, you know. So, you know, basically I had built a career on 20 years of failures.
Did it surprise you, its success?
Hugely, yeah. Oh, I had no idea.
You gonna do more?
You know, it depends.
Does it ever become maybe too much?
Not yet, you know, not yet for me. I mean, maybe to the masses, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I still feel like, in terms of character, Captain Jack is one that I'd like to explore.
He's still evolving?
Yeah, because he's fun, you know. It's fun. It's a license to be totally and utterly irreverent and get away with it.
He's going to age, then?
Well, I suppose he'll have to.
Let's discuss some others, some incredible roles you played. Edward Scissorhands.
Probably the most important film that I've ever done, just in terms of the transition for me, you know, from basically at the time, you know, being known as having come up the ranks as a TV actor, essentially, in the minds of Hollywood. Scissorhands was the one that sort of put me on the road that I wanted to be on. So for me, that one's, yeah, that's probably the most important of all.
Mad Hatter.
A gas, you know, I mean, just a gas. It was, again, you know, one of those things where you get a call from Tim and he says, what do you think about this? And you just start to travel, you know.
You just did Dark Shadows, right?
Just finished.
Finished.
Mm.
That was a soap opera
Yep.
about a vampire.
Yep.
What attracted you to that?
Well, I had watched it as a kid, you know, religiously. I mean, I remember sprinting home from school to see it, you know, and I didn't want to miss, like, a minute of it. And ironically, you know, Tim had gone through the same experience, you know, running home from school. And then back when we were doing Sweeney Todd a couple of years ago, and one day we were just sitting there talking, and I said, you know, we should do a vampire movie sometime. Let's do a vampire movie. It was before all the Twilights and all that, you know, stuff. And he said, yeah, that's a good idea. And I went, oh, Dark Shadows, man. And so we got on that Dark Shadows tangent, and then one thing led to another.
Was Willy Wonka fun?
Absolutely fun, yeah. Really fun.
Do you have to enjoy it to do it?
I think you have to. I mean, I think it's got to be fun. The process itself must be fun. You have to enjoy what you're doing, you know, and as we all know, as you know as well as I do, it's a collaborative process, you know. It's not just, let's chuck the actor in front of the camera. There are many people behind the scenes that make it all all go. So I would find it really a drag if they stick me out in front of the camera and the guys behind the camera weren't having a good time too. All I do is try to make them laugh, you know.
Still ahead, Johnny talks about his famous co-stars and friends. Al Pacino.
And he says I'm nuts, but he's really, he's like certifiably nuts.
Marlon Brando.
We got along like a house on fire, you know, instantly. It was a dangerous element. You never knew what to expect from him.
And Hunter S. Thompson.
I realized that this was the voice of truth. He was, without question, I mean, I think the most important non-fiction writer of the 20th century.
Plus, get a tour of his private office. Just wait till you see what's in there. But first, after supporting them for years, Johnny opens up on the release of the West Memphis 3.
Did you have anybody say to you, know, Johnny, you go out on a limb on a thing like this?
Oh, yeah.
Find out why when this Larry King special, Johnny Depp, continues.
What do you make of, finally, the release of the Memphis 3? You got involved in that battle. We did a whole show on it.
Yeah.
We had them on, and they're still not guilty. They're guilty. They're out, but it's crazy.
It's a very strange thing the state of Arkansas presented to them. Essentially, you know, to say, okay, all you have to do is say that we have the evidence to convict you again. And, but we'll do time served and you're out. Admitting guilt, maintaining your innocence. So it's a very, you know, it's a really floppy piece of ground to stand on.
Why'd you get involved?
Because I knew immediately, you know, when I first started to get, you know, kind of familiarize myself with the case, I knew instantly that they were innocent. I knew instantly that they were wrongfully accused. And the more research I did and the more people I spoke to, it was absolutely apparent.
Did you have anybody say to you, know, Johnny, you go out on a limb on a thing like this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people.
Like, what if they did it? It's going to look bad.
There was that kind of thing, yeah. But I just knew, you know. It was just, it was ugly and a raw deal from the get-go back in '93. And when you're thinking of these three kids, you know, one, Damien Eccles on death row for 18 years, 10 years in isolation, you know, for a crime that he did not commit.
You think Obama should pardon them?
I mean, it would be wonderful. I think he's probably got a few other things on his mind at the moment, but yeah, yes. What I'm hoping is that the investigation will continue outside the courthouse right now, and that we will be able to prove the real killers.
Back to some roles. One, I want to play a little clip for you here, because you did one of my all-time favorite movies with one of my dear friends, Al Pacino, and that was, of course, Donnie Brasco. So let's watch Al talking about you. Working with Johnny Depp.
I love him. I love Johnny Depp.
What makes him special? You did Donnie Brasco.
Yeah, and he's done so many things. I mean, he's gone from A to Z, you know. It's his gifts. It's really his gifts. And as a personality and as a person, I just loved him. I loved him. I loved being with him because he made me laugh every day I was there. And he's
funny.
a little nuts, too.
He's nuts?
Oh, yeah, he'll say I'm nuts, but he's really nuts. But he's nuts in that way that just, you know, it's just fun to be with.
You the same way toward him?
Yeah, although when you're working with Pacino, you know he's great. I mean, in that moment, you know, and of course, yeah, you lock in, as he said, you know, you lock in and you're in the scene and stuff like that. But, you know, as soon as cut comes, you go, Jesus Christ, man, wow. He's monumental.
But he said you're nuts.
He might be right, but he says I'm nuts, but he's really, he's certifiably nuts. And one of the funniest human beings I've ever known in my life.
From Pacino to Brando. Now, there's a puzzling aspect of your life that puzzles me. You directed and appeared with Brando in a movie that we have never seen.
Yeah, Brave, yeah.
Why have we never seen it?
I was sort of rushed to take it to the Cannes Film Festival. Took it there. And then,
And it was praised there, was it not?
It was kind of praised. The first night was really wonderful, you know. I mean, you had Bertolucci there and Antonioni and Kusturica and all these filmmakers that I really admired, I have admired for years, you know, saying bravo, bravo. And then, you know, and then the next day the American press just absolutely lambasted, you know, me and the film, saying it's, you know, we haven't seen a weirder group of people since Buñuel and, you know, like all these kind of strange things, and I just...
Shelved it?
Yeah, I didn't shelve it, you know, I owned the North American rights, and I just thought, you know what, I mean, what's the point, you know?
Might you release it?
Yeah, maybe. I'll tell you why, for one reason only. It's certainly not a perfect film. What I will say about that film, and what I will say about Marlon in particular, is it's one of the best performances he's given since Last Tango. It's one of the performances where he dug down deep and gave of himself so monumentally.
Was he a little ticked that you didn't release it?
No, he didn't care. No, he was fine.
That's Marlon.
Yeah, he was fine with it.
Now, you did do a movie with him. Did you enjoy doing that?
Don Juan?
Don Juan.
Yes, very much. That was when we met, and we got along like a house on fire, you know, instantly, and that's where we got close, you know, doing Don Juan.
What did he do that others in the what did he do that the rest of you didn't do?
Well, Marlon early on, I mean, Marlon reinvented acting. He revolutionized acting. He made it. It was not about behavior in a sense as it was just about being in a moment, and he was a dangerous element. I mean, he was a dangerous element, and he remained a dangerous element.
Risk taker.
Oh yeah, all the way through, man, until, you know, his last breath. You know, he was a dangerous element. You never knew what to expect from him.
Coming up, Johnny explains how he made Hunter S. Thompson's final wish come true, shooting his ashes out of a cannon.
He came down all over all of us. You know, we were covered in Hunter's ashes. It was something that I knew that had to be done, and we got it done. You know?
And get an inside look at his office. It's all next on this Larry King special, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp's personal office, as interesting and unique as the man himself. Inside, the walls are lined with personal mementos and photos from his life and work. Here, a cabinet of curiosities from his movie Sweeney Todd, Willy Wonka's throne from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and his walking stick and that golden ticket, one of his guitars, awards and accolades. Perhaps one of the most interesting things to see, Johnny's self-made portraits of his friend and mine, the legendary Marlon Brando.
I said, oh, hey, I made this painting of you, you know. He goes, you paint?
Another amazing man in Johnny's life, Hunter S. Thompson. Here he shows us a letter and a check, something he received after Thompson lost a bet over the 1998 World Cup. Johnny became friends with Thompson before he filmed Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It was a friendship that endured for years, and one that led to his latest movie, The Rum Diary. All right, let's talk about Hunter Thompson. And your friendship with him, you led to this movie, Rum Diary, based on him. You found this novel, right? We never knew he wrote a novel.
No, I happened upon it. Hunter and I, it was when I was researching Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and I was living in his basement, you know, and I happened upon this box as we were looking through the manuscript of Fear and Loathing, and I see this, you know, folder, you know, Rum Diary across it in his hand. I thought, wow, what's that, you know? So we started to read it, sitting, you know, cross-legged on the floor, you know, reading this amazing thing, and he's like, my God, that's pretty good, isn't it? You know, yeah, it's very good, Hunter. You know, what are you doing? But then he brought up the idea of, you know, he used to call me Colonel Depp. You know, he said, Colonel, we must produce this. You know, we'll produce this together. It'll be our, you know, and so that was the plan. And
did he know you were going to do it?
It took a little while, and then, you know, years happened, and then Hunter made his exit. You know, so he never got to.
Did you kind of make a promise to him you'd make it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So this is a commitment.
For sure. No, this was fulfilling a commitment to Hunter. This was absolutely a major promise. We are going to produce this thing together. And I even, so far as to have, you know, I mean, Hunter had his chair on set every day with his name on it. He had his script there with his name on it. There was a bottle of Chivas there every day, a highball glass filled with rocks, and we'd bang in the Chivas. We had his Dunhills, we had his cigarette filters.
It's a very unusual film. You'll agree with that.
It is, yeah.
People will react different ways to it.
I think so, yeah.
So explain to the uninitiated who Hunter Thompson was.
He was, without question, I mean, I think the most important non-fiction writer of the 20th century. You know?
And when he died, you blew his ashes.
Yeah.
How did you come to do that?
With
a cannon.
Yeah, he built a cannon. It was his last request, you know, and it was something that we talked about here and there, but I knew that that's what he wanted, and I knew that that had to be done at whatever, you know, at whatever cost. So I met with some, you know, these kind of architectural wizards and stuff, and we devised a cannon of 153 feet in the shape of the Gonzo fist that would shoot Hunter into the stratosphere.
Did it make a big sound?
Oh boy, it was huge. He came down all over all of us. You know, we were covered in Hunter's ashes. But the idea also is to take Hunter, you know, his ashes, and then mix that in with gunpowder. There was something so poetic about that, you know, something so kind of symmetrical about Hunter becoming basically large bullets that he would have loved. So, I mean, it was something that I knew that had to be done, and we got it done, yeah.
He's gone from pumping gas to being one of the highest paid actors in the world.
I haven't changed. I'm still exactly the guy that used to pump gas, you know. I'm still the guy that was a mechanic for a minute, you know. I'm still, exactly. I just happen to have a weirder job at the moment.
And Johnny tells us the latest on The Lone Ranger. Finally back on?
So it's going to happen.
Yeah, we got the budget down, yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's coming up on this Larry King special, Johnny Depp.
Ever want to do theater?
Yeah, there is a part of me.
not?
There is a part of me that wants to do it, you know.
I mean, they're there, the audience, you get the reaction.
Yeah, yeah. There is a part of me that wants to do it, but at the same time, you know, and I suppose the reason to do it is because it just scares the absolute, you know.
It does scare you?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have the protection of cut.
Yeah, you don't have the protection of cut, but also you just walk out there and suddenly just go, line. You know what I mean? I'm up. What's the line, you know? That would be a real drag.
Is there a play you've liked that you've said to yourself, you know, if I do it, I would do that play?
There was one conversation with Marlon where he said, he asked me how many movies I did a year, and at the time I said, I don't know, maybe 3 or something. He says, too much, kid. It's too much. We only have so many faces in our pockets, you know. And I said, oh, okay, I get it. He said, why don't you play Hamlet? You should play Hamlet. I said, I don't know, you know, Hamlet's the kind of cliche thing. He said, no, man, do it before you're too old to do it, you know. He said, I never got the chance. I never did it. You should do it. Go do it. And so that still sticks in my head, is the possibility of, you know, before I'm too long in the tooth to play Hamlet. It's just
been really down?
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Many
Really?
times. Oh, me? Yeah, sure.
Like what got you down?
Well, you know, throughout life, many things. But I mean, certainly, you know, losing Marlon, you know, took me down. Losing Hunter took me down, because you know that these friends, these mentors, these teachers, these father figures, these, you know, these someone who you really. It was amazing to be accepted by them and to be loved by them, and suddenly they're gone, you know. Yeah, those were pretty down times.
Do you have faith?
I have faith in my kids.
Me too.
Yeah, I have faith in my kids. And I have faith that, you know, as long as you keep moving forward, just keep walking forward, things will be all right, I suppose, you know. Faith in terms of religion, religion is not my specialty, you know.
Do you enjoy success? Now, you know you're successful. Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy the fruits of it?
Sure. I mean, I've been very, like I said, very, very lucky, you know, in the sense that, you know, I mean, how ironic is it that, you know, as I said, you know, you get...
You were pumping gas.
I was pumping gas, most definitely, and printing T-shirts and selling ink pens and, you know, I mean, anything and everything. Yeah, and then the fact that you have a 20-year career of failures and then you do a pirate movie and that buys you an island is pretty, I mean, the irony of that is pretty...
Do you think about the times when things weren't so good a lot?
Yeah, oh yeah. But I, you know, there was a guy who I worked with many years ago, and we were talking about success and money and all that stuff. And he told me this one thing. He said, you know, money doesn't change anybody. Money reveals them, you know. Same thing with success. And I believe that, you know, wholeheartedly. I think I've been revealed. I don't think I haven't changed. I'm still exactly the guy that used to pump gas, you know. I'm still the guy that was a mechanic for a minute, you know. I'm still, exactly. I just happen to have a weirder job at the moment, you know.
It is a weird profession.
As Marlon said, Marlon had the best definition of acting that exists, you know. It's a strange job for a grown man. And that's it.
You do that good.
It's a strange job for a grown man. That's right?
But he called something else that people in the business got mad at. He said it on our show. He called it lying for a living.
Right.
And most actors say they're not lying. Did you think that was an unfair expression?
I think it's totally right. Yeah, it's lying. It is lying. Why wouldn't it be? You can make it lying. You can make it not lying. You know, you can find your own truth, but it's still a lie. You know what I mean? You're going to go to the craft service table. You're not Henry VIII, man. You're going to have some Fritos or whatever, man. You know.
Have a donut and then go, yeah.
Right? You know, he's not going to like eat a giant chicken leg and chuck it somewhere and start screaming "wench," right? You know, and that's not just.
You like the camera. Burt Reynolds used to say every day he'd go up and say to the camera, "Love me today."
Oh, really?
Please love me. You don't look at your films, right? I don't
look at my films. But what I do is, I'll tell you the strange thing is what happens at a certain point, it's kind of like that thing Marlon said about being observed and having been the observer. You get to a place at a certain point where you're more comfortable in front of a camera, behaving, living in front of a camera than you are in normal life. That is to say, like out at a restaurant or something like that. You know, the camera becomes sort of just part of the...
Same thing in my profession. I don't want to discuss myself,
but you know what I mean? It's just there, and that's part of it, and that's it.
It's your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Up next, Johnny talks about being a family man.
Kids are great. It's so fun. As you know, I mean, they just grow up so fast. It's just shocking, you know?
Explains those tattoos.
The kids like it?
Yeah, they're okay with it, you know. Yeah, I mean, they're sort of used to it by now, you know. I mean, even when I come home with a new one, they're like, oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, it's nice with Dad, you know.
And announces details on his next projects.
Are you doing a film about Dr. Seuss?
Find out all about his future coming up on this Larry King special, Johnny Depp.
You're not in the National Enquirer.
No, I mean, thank God, you know. Early days, you know, they tried to sort of slot me into those things, but no, not so much, you know. I think they kind of, after, you know, almost 14 years with Vanessa and 2 kids, I think they kind of...
How'd you meet Vanessa?
I had met her before, but very briefly, and then it was 98 when I went to do this film with Roman Polanski in Paris. I was in the hotel lobby, sort of getting my messages, and I turned around and was walking back towards my room, and I saw across the room, I saw this back, this sort of skin of this back and this neck attached to it. I just thought, my God, what's that? And then instantly it turned towards me and walked over and said hello, and it was Vanessa. And it was that moment where I knew I was absolutely in deep trouble. It's over. I just knew it. It was over. And she, you know, we were going to have a kid. You know, within 3 months she was pregnant, so it was over.
What are the kids like?
Kids are great. So fun.
Now, you live here, right? You live in Los Angeles?
Yeah, we basically try and spend sort of half and half. But with the kiddies in school, we do a lot here. The kids are great, you know. Jack, they just, as you know, I mean, they just grow up so fast. It's just shocking. You know?
You and your sister are very close, right?
My sister, yeah, Christy's my best friend in the world. She's always, she's kept me alive since I was a little kid, you know.
So you were family-oriented early?
Very much so.
Maybe you change. It's hard to change.
Well, unfortunately, I have a tendency, you know, especially through, you know, these days now when they, you know, when the way the work is coming, I work a lot, and I probably work too much. If I could change that a little, you know, I'd love to be able to
change that.
Spend more time. Yeah, you can, but once you've committed to certain things...
You need that camera.
Well, I need to have the brain occupied, for sure. You know, the sort of brain canopy occupied at all times, otherwise I will go sideways.
Why tattoos?
Like a journal, you know.
You keep a journal of your life on your body?
Basically, yeah. You know, it started when I was 17. I got my first tattoo, and every single one means something, and they all...
Do the kids like it?
Yeah, they're okay with it, you know. Yeah, I mean, they're sort of used to it by now, you know. I mean, even when I come home with a new one, they're like, oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, nice with Dad, you know.
What happened to the Lone Ranger?
It's still up and running. They
read that their budget was too high and they were not going to do it. You're going to play Tonto, right?
Yeah.
You have Indian blood, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What tribe?
Well, I was told, you know, I was always told it was Cherokee, you know, growing up and stuff. But it may be Cherokee, maybe Creek. I don't know exactly, you know.
Is there a script?
There is a script. There's a very funny, good script. And
is it a takeoff of the Lone Ranger?
Yeah.
It's funny.
There's humor, yeah. There's a boatload of humor in there. Yeah.
Does Tonto get to say Kimasabi?
Oh yeah. yeah.
Who's the Lone Ranger if it's made?
It's going to be a guy named Armie Hammer. It looks like it's going to all come together in January.
So it's going to happen?
Yeah, we got the budget down, yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So you play him tongue-in-cheek? How are you going to approach Tonto?
I think what I like about Tonto is the idea that this character who's thought of as the sidekick. You know, that was the thing that bugged me always about the Lone Ranger, is this, why is the Indian the sidekick? Why does he have to go get you that thing? Why does he have to...
He's a slave.
Right, and I couldn't stand that always. And my approach to Tonto is that he's a sort of... there's this sort of a crazy like a fox stoicism to Tonto, you know, that Tonto probably believes that the Lone Ranger is his slave, you know, his sidekick. So it's like, you know, go get me the thing. No, no, no.
He's going to say no?
You go get it. You go. You're the one dressed in the funny outfit. You do it.
Are they going to do the beginning where all these bunch of Rangers are killed and Tonto saves the Lone Ranger's life? And that's
there's certainly elements of that, yeah, for sure. You remember it well.
Oh, is there a love interest?
Not for Tonto.
Now, see, he doesn't get...
Not for Tonto, no.
Will you do your own Tonto makeup?
Will I do my own Tonto makeup?
Have you figured out how Tonto, will he have headdress?
Oh, I know, yeah, I know we do.
One little feather?
Oh, I think it's a little more than that. I think it's... I'll tell you what, I'll send you a picture of it.
Please.
I've done some tests. I'll send you a picture of it because it's a little different than that. But what I like about Tonto, what I feel good about in terms of Tonto is that I feel like he's, you know, when I came up with Captain Jack, I thought, okay, I've really arrived at something, you know, different here, you know, and Tonto feels right on par with Captain Jack. It feels like another Captain Jack to me.
Are you doing a film about Dr. Seuss?
It's something, yeah, it's something we're developing with Seuss's widow, you know, Geisel's widow, and it's a very exciting possibility because it's a sort of a combination of live action and
Cat in the Hat.
not Cat in the Hat so much, but just the characters. The characters will certainly have a role.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. What a pleasure. What an honor.
It's your honor.
The honor's mine, really. Yeah.
Johnny Depp.